team, racing hard and loud, teaching grit and thunder, standing tall and proud. Standing tall and proud.
Hey, what's up, zkRacers? We are back from our quasi-retirement. A lot has happened. So back then, my basement flooded. I had to do a shit ton of construction. Not even fully finished with it, but my new office, my new setup. So I'm kind of back to normal a little bit.
Yeah,
So,
it's looking pretty good in there. I mean, you put all the floors on the walls. It's pretty great.
That's right. When the floor floods, you just move it up higher. That's how you solve the problem. But yeah, so with all that said, there's been finally some really cool stuff that zkRace has been releasing to us, stuff that we've all been waiting for, just begging for. So we wanted to give a nod to some of what has come and what we know is coming.
Yeah, so they put out this graphic that's they called it the ZK Summer Roadmap, and this had a handful of things that they were going to be releasing over the summer months. We saw some partnerships and the Midsummer Fest happen in June. That's great. They followed through with that. And then what we want to talk about first is the Hippodrome launch, and that phrasing can be a little confusing because it's not so much that they launched a Hippodrome, but rather that they tied your Opie ownership to the Hippodromes themselves, so you can now earn having purchased and or won some of those Opies in the past.
You know, on the Hippodrome thing, something we should probably bring up too is that we didn't have, we did have a lot of conversations with the zkRace team. The Hippodrome release was a really challenging thing for them to set up. And so now that it's live, I think we could talk about this a little bit more openly. But originally the plan was to build a new Hippodrome for the community. And things that we raised flags about was originally there was going to be a single surface. So, and on top of that, it was going to be a single short or long duration. And we raised our hands and threw out lots of problems with that, because if we were limited to short distance dirt, that would mean that the community could only have tournaments on that same single surface. Mm-hmm. So we were pointing out that you need to have the ability to change the surfaces, change the lengths, to do all this stuff so we could host the rally and we could do these other elements. And then after lots of kicking around back and forth, they finally came up with like, okay, scrap the seventh and let's just give a universal ownership to all. So that way we all get a part of every single racetrack, and then that way the manager system, which Mr. Aiden mostly builds these events, it's the same standard one that we're already used to, and it didn't overcomplicate or break or cause economic issues elsewhere.
Yeah, you nailed it. That's exactly right. It was just getting too complicated to try to hand off ownership. So it's more you get a say in the earn at this point. So it's nice that we get a piece of each of the Hippodromes that are out there.
All right, and then real quick, for those that have not yet done this, I don't want to waste too much time on this, but if you go into your wallet, you'll be able to deposit an item, deposit your Opies, and once they exist, you will then have the Hippodrome section. You may have this already, it might be empty, but what's cool about this is that as it is accumulating, every single race that takes place, you will get a fraction of the cut, depending on how many Opies you have in. So I currently have about 84 Zerk that I've gotten kickbacks for here. It shows me all my races. The stats, kind of an interesting thing. Don't really dive into this much. This is showing like where the races are occurring. You could see some information about that from ownership. And then it just shows all the owners of Opies. One thing I wish they showed here is they show your specific ownership, but it'd be kind of cool to see each individual owner, like who is the big dog in this Hippodrome world.
Yeah, I do wonder if that'll come a little more down the road once we start talking about management and the shares of ownership and how much that's going to matter. If we do start to see control handed over, it'll be curious to see how they roll that out. And I think a lot of those stats will start to play more down the road. It's funny you said you've earned 84 Zerk. I've actually earned 224 Zerk from this, which I know that's still such a small amount, or seemingly, but considering how few races are actually running at the moment, it's nice to actually see funds coming in. Most of the time I'm losing with all of my horses racing. So actually having a positive return on that side is nice, because whether I race or not, as long as the community continues to race, I'll see a kickback from that. So it is a nice feature to have. And speaking of rewards, we actually have another thing that was on that map that they were going to be rolling out this summer that we are super excited about, and that is Ancestry Rewards. This is something that we've
worked hard on this one.
yeah, we've helped shape it, I guess, is the best way to put it. It's something that we kind of spawned out of some other needs and some other requests that we put forth to ZK and their team. And ultimately, you probably saw that this article was released like a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
They teased the fact that we were going to be having Ancestry Rewards down the line, and that you'd be able to get kickbacks from breedings that would happen in future generations, assuming you owned a Gen 0 or in the future any past generation. That obviously hasn't really come out yet because we haven't gotten Gen 1 breeding, but that's something that we're excited to have happen. And I know Mr. Not a Vampire over here really does want to see that happen because he feels like he's going to really amp up his racing as soon as that's released.
Oh, I've been waiting for this since day one. The whole entire strategy that I've had has been about breeding Gen 1. So this whole entire time I've had one good Gen 0 and then everything else I've just been stuck. So I have a gazillion liquid loves and I'm ready to start smashing these guys. Because yes, I think it's going to be awesome to finally have this. I think it's going to give us the ability to have unique pairings, and we're going to see hopefully some monsters on the track. And then I know things have gone slow in the game because the entire NFT world has completely gone frozen, but I'm hopeful that there's going to be certain things that are going to make this game fun. And one of the things is going to be having unraced tournaments and seeing if the Gen 2s are going to completely smoke everybody. I'm really eager for that and seeing what we're going to be seeing coming soon, which if you, I don't know if we have that article back or picture, but the events that they talked about too on this one, we suspect that those are the events that we are hosting because we're having the rally going on right now. And as soon as Gen 2s are available, you bet your asses we are going to be having an unraced tournament. That's like has to happen. So we've been pushing on ZK to let us know when is this going to happen, so that way we can host an event. So it sounds like it's coming in the next couple of weeks. So
yeah.
We'll see.
I think what's exciting here is that we know that Gen 1 breeding and Ancestry Rewards basically have to be rolled out together. When that happens, you're going to see the cost of breeding Gen 1s go up from 50 to 60 Zerk. That's in that article that we just showed a minute ago. And it actually is going to then take that extra 10 Zerk and split it across the lineage moving up. So the parents of those Gen 1s are going to get a kickback. And so holding on to your Gen 1s and eventually, holding on to your Gen 0s and eventually holding on to your Gen 1s in the future, once Gen 2s can breed, is going to start paying you back in the long run, or that's the hope. Along with that, when you get those Ancestry Rewards, the hope is that we'll start to see eventually some sort of stats similar to what we saw for the Hippodrome launch, where you'll be able to monitor how well your horses are doing, how well different bloodlines or lineages might be doing. We don't know for sure that that's coming out, but it would be something that's pretty cool and be nice to be able to track that for putting a value on a horse or a lineage or a bloodline down the road.
Now, something to the conversation, we've never heard a concrete resolution to this. Two brief things. One, whether or not incestual breeding is going to be allowed. I think that is still an unknown. They at least never told us. Really curious. So I don't know what your guys' thoughts are. Do you have an opinion?
I know we've asked a couple times, and most of the time they inform us that, oh yeah, anything goes now. That's kind of how it's been. I'm curious to see if there's any limitations on it. Way back when, years and years ago, when we first asked about it, they were like, oh, there won't be any of that. You won't be able to breed within a family line. You have to go outside of that. But more recently, in the last year or two, as we've discussed this, it's been mentioned that there'll be no limitations on it. So my opinion, I love it. I love the fact that I can breed down a line knowing that they're already good. I know my stable pretty well. I don't know other people's stables all that well. So being able to do that is going to give me a little bit of a benefit, at least early on. But I think this is going to become less of an issue in the future because it's going to become commonplace, right? I suspect that almost everyone will have that. You'll have built out your stable. You'll have sloughed off the ones or staked the ones that you don't really race all that often or don't want to breed with. But I am curious how, even along those lines, how they're going to monitor and slow the breeding process or reinvigorate the breeding of certain horses that have just gone silent for years.
Yeah. Now you bring up that point, which is fantastic, because that's another question. I'd be curious if the community can really help get this thing figured out, because the Gen 3, Gen 4, Gen 5 schedule of breeding, that was another question that we've asked them for a long time as this whole entire Gen 2 era is coming about, where it's like, okay, so what's going to control the pace in which horses are released? Is it going to be once a year? It's like a new season in the game, and then now the next generation can be there, and then the ZK team, they control the pace? Or is it going to be something like once a horse hits a certain age or a level, it's allowed to then breed? And then do the players have more control of racing? I mean, eventually we're going to have to hit a cap where maybe like a Gen 10 is going to be potentially 100% perfect, but I don't know. I don't know what those limitations should be or what should happen about that. But I like the idea of the players having more control. So like having it built into the horse and having that race, I like, as long as that race doesn't turn into like only a couple weeks.
Yeah, I think one thing that we've already seen is that it's been years before Gen 1s can breed, right? I don't suspect we're going to suddenly see that Gen 2s can breed, in a year from now. It may be another 3, 4, 5 years before that happens. If that's the case, that's perfectly fine, because I think each generation is going to multiply and amplify the number of pairings that are possible out there. So like, it took us a while to get to the point where Gen 0s breeding together bred the best Gen 1s. I bet there were people 2 years ago that would have said, oh, well, we've already done it. We've already peaked. We've figured it out. Like, we've seen the best. But yet we see new horses being bred all the time that are outpacing some of the more established Gen 1s even. So the fact that there's Gen 1s outpacing Gen 1s still means there's still room for better horses to be bred. So I think it takes a long time before a generation really kind of flushes itself out and is set.
Yeah, I guess one benefit of having it set by the ZK team of like saying January 1 of 1 year or 2 years to release, it would allow us to be able to plan and schedule like events. So you strategically get your pairings aligned, and then as soon as the next generation window opens up, breeders pounce, and you try to get yourself into that. I could see some valuation in that. That could be fun.
Yeah. There's a lot of different angles to it. Right now, we're just excited that Gen 1s are going to be able to start breeding, and then we're going to start seeing a kickback from some of the Gen 0s that we hold on to. So keep an eye out. We're definitely going to be doing an unraced tournament. We're going to be working on different formats for how to handle whether they're unraced Gen 1s, Gen 2s, paired together. We'll be talking and bringing out more information on that in the coming months. But keep an eye out, and hopefully you guys are ready to smash your horses.
Big close to the year, but the track's still calling. Bloodline deep, I'm stalling, I'm hauling. Opies the stank, go past like rain. Gen 1 brand, I'm back in the game. I'm back here with your straight to the dome. Catch a breath, running for the lead zone. Rewards in the wallet, heat on the mic.
Just need to shut up for a brief moment, and I'll just put these things up.
Still getting paid, we stables hold. Like our who's sick, digital crazy. K8 dead, we spread the white. The bloodline's back.
Scissor.
We breed attack. Legacy deep, no need to stack. zkRace with a versatile track. Take it, bloodline's back. Move the bloodline's back. We was the year, but the track's still calling. Bloodline deep, I'm stalling, I'm hauling. Opies the stable, pass like rain. Gen 1 brand, I'm back in the game. Drop that Hippodrome straight to the dome.
Those people pointed at me.
Rewards in the wallet, heat on the mic. We built this thing from the DNA, right? Ancestral gold, the keys to the vault. Still getting paid when stables hold. My car, who's safe, digital crazy. K ain't dead, we just paid the way. Drop that